It's Fully Threaded Radio, episode 208.
The period of time we're at, I feel like if you were to put a headline on the calendar year 2023, I think I would say softening end user demand, inventory correction. If I were to put a headline on 2024, I think I would say
it's time for Fully Threaded Radio.
It is Fully Threaded Radio, voice of the FCH Sourcing Network. Hi everyone, Eric Dudas with you here again. And the co-host of Fully Threaded normally is Brian Musker, but he vanished into the data lab a little while ago, so I got to get this one done. Hopefully he'll jump on a little bit later. But nevertheless, I've got a great episode lined up for you. Once again, we're going to keep it a little shorter than we used to do, but it's jam-packed. This is episode 208 of the podcast, and we'll drop this one January 17th, 2025. Kind of getting used to the sound of that already. And 2025 is already off to kind of a dramatic start. Lots of headlines already breaking. On the Fastener News Report, Mike McNulty's got Huyett President Tim O'Keeffe. They'll start by looking over our shoulder at 2024 as we receive the final FDI report for the year. So we got the whole thing lined up, and they do a fair amount of speculating on what's coming at us, too. Very good discussion. Also on the news report this time, we have a conversation with Star Stainless President Tim Roberto Jr. He'll be talking about their latest acquisition. Yes, Big Bolt was a big headline to kick off the new year. He's got a few things to say about that. And of course, Carmen Vertullo's got the Fastener Training Minute. This time he's going to talk about the risks associated with structural bolting. And of course, that can only mean, well, it can mean a lot of things, but in this case, it means torque tensioning. Carmen's seen it all over his long career. He'll share his wisdom with us on the Fastener Training Minute. And we'll get things kicked off with a visit with Fastener Fair USA manager Blanca Delgado. Fastener Fair's happening in Nashville this year, and it's right around the corner, May 28th and 29th. She'll give us a preview. And even though Brian's not here at the moment, I can speak for him. We're super excited to launch another podcast season, and very glad to have our great lineup of partners backing us all the way. The title sponsors of Fully Threaded Radio are Star Stainless. Right off the shelf, it's Star. Global Fasteners. Quality the first time. Go Global. And Brighton Best International. Tested, tried, true, Brighton Best. Fully Threaded is also sponsored by Buckeye Fasteners, BTM Manufacturing, Eurolink Fastener Supply Service, Fastener Technology International, InSequel Software, Fastener Fair USA, J. Franco, Solution Industries, Volt Industrial Plastics, and Worth Industry North America. As always, the email address ftr@fullythreaded.com. We very much appreciate the comments that you've sent our way since we've been always, but especially since we've been tweaking the format of the podcast. I'm not sure how we'll finally zero this whole thing in, but always appreciate your comments. And before we cut to this conversation with Blanca from Fastener Fair, I'd like to say congratulations to Steve and Cheryl Dunham of Sasco Fasteners up there in Medford, Oregon. Now, Steve's been a longtime pal of the podcast and FCH, and actually I think he was on board either the first or second year that we launched FCH. And I used to see him out at the PacWest meetings, and we've had him on the podcast a couple times over the years. He reached out to let me know that he sold the company. He and Cheryl are finally going to enjoy their long-deserved retirement. I tell you, they've been working about as hard as you possibly could for many years, and they're certainly deserving of it. And when I talked to him on the phone, we agreed to get him on and do a little retrospective. And these are the kinds of conversations that I really enjoy. I mean, it's sad to see him go. I'm going to miss him. And at the same time, it's really inspirational for so many in the fastener industry who set off kind of modestly, worked hard for a long time, and really achieved the dream. So congratulations to Steve and Cheryl. And when we talked to Steve, which will be in the near future, we can get into the somewhat tenuous feelings that Cheryl developed for the FTR podcast. And I won't go into that anymore. Leave that as a cliffhanger, but that'll be something that we can definitely throw in the mix, have some fun with it. All in good fun, Steve. Thanks for clicking into Fully Threaded Radio, everyone. Here's that conversation with Blanca. Well, it's bleak dead of winter here in semi-rural Northeast Ohio. However, Fastener Fair USA is going to be coming up is quicker than we think. That's happening May 28th, 29th this year in Nashville. Fastener Fair show manager Blanca Delgado is with me now. Blanca, what's going on?
Hey, how are you? Glad to be here.
It's been a little while. I tell you, while we've been sort of warming ourselves up here, getting ready to say what we're about to say, I am, again, impressed with the amount of stuff that you actually do. People think, you got this time off, but, in between shows, no way, man. You never stop. You're already looking at 27.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah, show business is not for the faint of heart. Hey, just before we dive into all this, again, Fastener Fair coming up the 28th and 29th of May, Nashville. I've been looking here at the anti-harassment policy. We'll work from the outside in, okay? It doesn't say anything about long hair. You got this long list of things. I'm wondering, could you get that added?
I'll try to.
All right. You're always eager to accommodate, Blanca.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, this year, Fastener Fair will be, I believe, North America's only fully carpeted fastener event. Is that true?
That is true. We will be carpeted in our aisles. We are this year giving the choice for exhibitors to carpet or not carpet. There is a big push on the sustainability of carpet. It's kind of carpets are only used once. So we're really trying to start being a little bit conscientious more about that. So we are giving the choices to the exhibitors to either carpet their space or to always use those snap-on plasticky things that are reusable.
Well, that's a whole nother issue, but glad to hear the background on that. We could probably spend a long time on it.
Yeah.
But since we only have a few minutes here today, let's dig right in. The highlights of Fastener Fair USA 2025 in Nashville. Again, it's the 28th and 29th of May. Everybody seems to really like Nashville, Blanca.
Yeah, there's a lot of activities to happen. It's a up and coming city. They kind of call it Little Vegas, but without the casinos, but enough bars to make everyone happy. We have an exciting lineup of things happening on the show floor, on the after the event, before the conference even starts. I mean, FTI has a really good conference heading up that they're excited about, and I think by the end of the week, you'll be able to register for that. But so the 27th will be the FTI event, and then the 28th is opening doors for the conference. We're going to have a NASCAR simulator where you could win tickets to actually go to a NASCAR race. And then we also have a testing station where you could test different torques of fasteners, how tight things can be without breaking. We have the networking event happening the 28th, which will take place at the Honky Tonk Bar. 3 floors, live music, food, drinks. We're going to have a few activities. We're trying to have make your own cowboy hat and ribbons and things like that. So we're pretty excited about it. I'm also working with the Young Fastener Association on a conference for our graduate students that are looking for jobs in the fastener industry.
YFP you're talking about there?
Yes, the Young Fastener Professionals.
Got it.
So we're hoping that goes through. That's going to be at the second day of the show, plus a lot of different panels and things like that in our stage area. We are co-located this year with the Aluminum USA show. So that too is exciting because that brings in a lot of folks in the automotive and aerospace visitors that haven't really attended the Fastener show before. So we're expecting a big crowd this year.
Yeah, it seems like a good chance for crossover in that audience.
Yeah, definitely.
So you're jamming a lot into this thing.
Yeah. I'm hoping we could jam as much as possible just to give everyone an opportunity to have different sections for whatever they're looking to accomplish at the show. We're also going to have a lot of surveys out there. So please, hopefully, our exhibitors and our visitors will be filling those out just to give us a better direction on what they want to see on future shows and how to grow the event.
Now, how does international participation look this year?
We do have a big Taiwan and China pavilion. We have Turkey coming in. We also have the European folks attending. There is a lot of manufacturing that is, like change the political climate always gives a lot of options for international growth. So that's kind of our focus on it, is to make sure that we have the right exhibitors and attendees attending the events that would support, all of that. The aluminum event actually brings in a lot of Europeans and international folks. So you're going to see a bit more of the international visitors coming in this year.
Excellent. Well, you probably have not had a chance to hear the interview that we did with Carmen Vertullo and John O'Brien, he with the Skidmore Wilhelm company, but they said that they're bringing this year on the floor a demo of the Skidmore Wilhelm equipment too. So there's an added bonus for you, probably something you didn't know about yet.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Oh, that's awesome.
Well, this all sounds great, Blanca. We should also mention that registration is open when? January 28th, I believe you said, correct?
Yes, January 28th, registration will be open. We will be sending out reminders right before that. Hotel registration is now open. Get your hotel. That the links to our hotel housing folks are on our website. So make sure you get that. I know a lot of times there's a lot of scams going on, that people emailing saying that they're the official. Just know that we only have one official hotel, folks, and that's Connection Housing. And the information is on our website.
Good to know. Now, the website, once again, folks, FastenerFairUSA.com. Get out there to take advantage of registration starting January 28th. Hey, I just want to say, I know we're going to keep this one pretty tight, but you guys have done such a great job of connecting with all the fastener associations and doing your best to support them. And I hear a lot about that in the background. Just want to say thanks for that.
Oh, no, you guys, thank you guys. You've really helped us to know exactly what you want in the conference. So it helps us to bring in a better show for the fastener industry. We're here to support you guys. So it's really helpful.
And before I let you run, what do you hear from our friend Bob Chiricosta? He, of course, the previous show manager, and I guess he's in semi-retirement now or full. What's the story?
Well, he's having a great time on doing a lot of vacations, spending a lot of time with his grandkids and his family.
Not traveling.
Yeah, not traveling, even though he loves traveling. So he's doing a little bit of that. But he is, of course, available. He will be at the Nashville show, walking around just saying hello to everybody.
All right.
He misses the industry, so he definitely likes to come back to say hello to everybody.
That's great. Another reason to get out there, folks. Fastener Fair USA. One last thing, Blanca, getting back to this anti-harassment policy. Again, this is on the website, folks. You can read all about it, FastenerFairUSA.com. What exactly is bathroom policing?
I'm not really sure.
Not going to be doing any of it myself, but I just want to make sure that I don't...
I don't think we police the bathrooms. I think that's it.
That's good. It doesn't sound like you want anyone else doing that either. So
that's
what I love about Fastener Fair. All right, Blanca. Well, always good to talk to you, and we'll probably get you on here one more time before the show, but keep it busy. I know you will.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Blanca Delgado, Fastener Fair. All right, folks. We'll be right back with more Fully Threaded.
Coming to you across the vast audio radiance of the internet, it's the voice of the FCH Sourcing Network, Fully Threaded Radio.
Brighton Best International has partnered with Parker Fasteners in Buckeye, Arizona. We are now proudly stocking premium quality domestic 302 stainless steel socket head cap screws. These screws are made in the USA, known for their reliability, corrosion resistance, and strict adherence to industry standards. When you choose these screws, you're getting tested, tried, and true domestic stainless steel sockets. To learn more, contact your BBI representative today.
Goebel Fasteners has launched a brand new line of high-strength structural blind rivets that are used in heavy truck and trailer, railroad, solar, metal building construction, and other industries that require a vibration-resistant fastener for strong, long-lasting installations. Available in steel, stainless steel, and aluminium ranging from 3 by 16-inch diameter up to 3 by 8-inch diameter, these structural rivets are a solid solution for a variety of applications. Goebel Fasteners, the leading rivet source.
Looking to stay ahead of the curve in fastener technology? Then you can't miss Fastener Fair USA. The industry's must-attend event is coming to Music City Center in Nashville, Tennessee on May 28th and 29th. Discover cutting-edge innovations, meet top manufacturers and suppliers, and network with industry leaders at our opening night party at Honky Tonk Central, right on world-famous Broadway. Plus, your Fastener Fair USA badge gets you free access to the co-located Aluminum USA show, offering more business opportunities than ever. Register now at FastenerFairUSA.com. We'll see you in May.
Hi, this is Rob Big Country Reynolds of NSequel Software, coming to you from the 19th hole, and you are listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
Back with you. Okay, still no sign of Brian. But we're going to leave him alone. Man, you should see the complexity of some of this software. He's got the hood open on this stuff. And if you could see these libraries that he pours over day after day. Anyway, we'll leave him be and get on with the news segment of this episode. Big favorite with a lot of listeners. Mike McNulty coming up with Tim O'Keeffe. Plus, we've got the Tim Roberto Jr. segment jammed in there as well. Couple of items to drop. These flew by right after we got done recording with McNulty. Brighton Best International announces big promotion for our friend George Hunt III, GH3. He's been promoted to Vice President, Sales Industrial North America. Wow. Good job, George. Every time we turn around, you're getting another accolade. Congratulations on the bump up. Brighton Best International, of course, sporting their new logo for their 100th anniversary. 1995 to 2025. We'll be talking more about that as the year goes on, and I can't wait to see what festivities Brighton's got to celebrate that. They're going to spare no expense, I guarantee you. And the second piece of news I'll share with you is also a promotion, this time from Worth. Worth's been doing some major reorganization, and I'm sure we'll be covering that in greater detail very shortly. But this news is connected to that. The announcement, Chapman Revercombe. He's been elevated to President, Worth Industry USA. Now, as I understand it, there's two main operating segments of Worth now in North America. This is one of them. Chapman's getting the nod. Congratulations to you. He's been on the podcast a couple times. I'm sure we'll have him back to give us a picture of what he's going to be doing in this newly formatted organization and his role in it. Way to go, Chapman. 2025 already off to a big start, as we said. Once again, the Fastener News Report is sponsored by Volt Industrial Plastics and the title sponsors of Fully Threaded, Brighton Best International, Goebel Fasteners, and Star Stainless. Hey, one more thing before we push the play button on that. You might remember we had Jake Valdez Davis on with us recently, and he was talking about the return of mud racing to the fastener world. Yes, coming up in August, the Tough Mudders will be hitting the course again. And one of our teammates, John Coolhand Butler with Martin's Supply, shared with us just the other day. He's got some new fastener-related mud racing ink on his body. And I won't give too many more details. I plan to do a segment with some of the mud racers very soon, and we'll set that all up for the summer, do a little recruiting, and he'll give us some details. But Cool Hand, you are always blowing my mind. Glad you're on board with this year's race, too. All right, It's Fastener News time, so I'll give the preamble. I guess I'm the only one here to do it. And now, with news about screws you can use, here's Mike McNulty.
Thanks, Eric and Brian. This is Mike McNulty from Fastener Technology International magazine, bringing you the Fastener News Report, which is sponsored by Volt Industrial Plastics, makers of the world's finest plastic fasteners. The new year of 2025 is marching on despite disasters and terrorism. My house and yard are covered in beautiful white snow. Politicians are shuffling in and out of power, and my two favorite college football teams made it to the national championship game. But I am still focused on fasteners and ready to deliver today's Fastener News Report. In this episode, Tim O'Keeffe, Chief Executive Officer at Huyett, joins us to reveal the latest results of the Fastener Distributor Index, also known as the FDI. Also in today's broadcast, we have our top story on Linfast Solutions Group and newsmaker headlines from Bolton, Century Fasteners, Anchor Bolt, Birmingham Fastener, R&S Industrial, Spiral, Endries, AFC Industries, EJOT, Suncor Stainless, Brighton Best International, and more. On the back page report, we're going to talk about signposts on the Wisdom Trail. We'll get to all of that and the latest FDI results right after this.
There's a reason Volt Industrial Plastics is an industry leader in plastic clip, clamp, and custom fastener manufacturing. With over 100 million parts in stock that can be shipped the same day, we have the capability of molding over 120 different materials and can color match for specific applications. You need it? We can build it. At Volt, we have state-of-the-art technology to build prototypes to customer specs. And now available, Volt's new light-duty cable clamps. With maximum diameters ranging from 3/16 to a ½ inch, these clamps are ideal for hard-to-reach spaces, electronics, and finish work. Volt Industrial Plastics, the finest, fastest plastic fasteners in the world. Visit us at voltplastics.com.
Solution Man, Ken.
Solution Man, you're my fastener hero.
Just doing my job, ma'am.
SOLUTION, SOLUTION. Solution Industry. We are Solution.
Cut the no quotes out of the equation. Eurolink is your go-to resource for uncommon and hard-to-find metric fasteners that others can't even quote. Contact the sales team at EurolinkFSS.com and get your hard-to-find metric fasteners delivered.
Mike McNulty.
The seasonally adjusted Fastener Distributor Index for December 2024 moved slightly higher to 48.1 versus 46.4, the lowest result of 2024. The forward-looking indicator, also known as the FLI, inched lower at 51.4 versus 52.3 last month, the fourth straight month above 50. Fastener Distributor Index data is collected and analyzed by the FCH Sourcing Network and Baird. The FDI seeks to identify demand, pricing, and outlook trends within the American fastener distribution industry. To get some insight on these results, we're going to talk to Tim O'Keeffe, Chief Executive Officer at Huyett. Hi, Tim. Thanks for joining us on the Fastener News Report.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate being here.
Yeah, it's good to have you back on. And last time you were here was in July of 2024, so things have decreased slightly. What do you think about the latest FDI results?
It's quite frankly, it's a little bit mysterious to me right now in that it doesn't necessarily jive with what I feel like I'm hearing out there. I've done some more kind of study on this and research on this, and what I find interesting is I've tried to use some of the data that you see that the ITR guys do. Brian and Alan Bolio, they speak a lot in our industry and study the FDI from a moving average or a 3-month moving average, kind of the way they measure it. And interestingly enough to me is that if you look at the MMA, it's actually been bullish, which is a comparison of 3-month moving average of this year to the same period of a year ago. And yet when I talk to people out there in the industry, I'm not necessarily seeing that bullishness. And maybe to be more specific and kind of tie this to the period of time we're at, I feel like if you were to put a headline on the calendar year 2023, I think I would say softening end user demand, inventory correction. if I were to put a headline on 2024, I think I would say soft demand, significant sector difference, concern about the election. And so, we're recording this in early January, so the election's now, a couple of months past. And so I think there might be some reason for optimism, but conditional optimism. And we just see a lot of differences in certain sectors. The ag people are doing, really having a tough time. Anybody that's around capital equipment, like machine tools, probably having a challenging time. And yet maybe at the other end of the spectrum, anybody that's around building and construction, especially red iron, those guys are on fire and doing very, very well. So it's very choppy, very sector-based right now.
Mm-hmm. So hard to get a clear picture on it.
It is. And I try to look at the leading indicator number and always try to reconcile that to the actual FDI number. And one thing I find interesting is if you do a 3MA on the leading indicator and the actual indicator, the leading indicator has exceeded the actual indicator every period since the inception of this. Prior to this cast, I reached out to Eric to try to get the data, and he gave me data all the way back to 2012. And since 2012, on a 3-month average, the FLI has never, not once, exceeded the FDI. And so what that tells you is that the FLI is an optimism, emotional number, and everybody in our industry is...
Everybody's optimistic.
all the time. Yeah, we're overly optimistic all the time. So I think I would just leave it at that.
Well, that's not a bad thing, I guess.
Not at all.
But it's good to note that it's emotional, and I think that's one of the things you talked about last time is the emotionality about the index.
Yep. There was a decline. If you look at the numbers, there was a decline for a few periods there, and when you look at through the month or through the year rather, we only were below 50 one time. And then and this is on the FDI, and that was in February. We've been above 50 every month since. Which, if this is treated like some of the other purchasing manager indexes and such out there, a reading above 50 would seem to suggest an improving number. But I don't know. So and that's on a moving average basis. So I might have said that just a little bit confusing there, and I regret that.
Yeah, but the FDI, like you said, it finished below 50 at the end of 2024, but the FLI stayed above 50.
Yeah. And to the last 2 months in particular, we've seen on the FDI pretty low readings, 46.4 in November, right. 48.1 December. And is that I guess I'm thinking with the election settled, and there's not an opposition, there's no contest of the election, you kind of remove that. And that just tells me that underlying people are seeing softness, even if you take the emotions out of it. So it does feel like it's a little softer right now.
Right. Well, then getting into the actual numbers, we had sales, employment, respondent inventories, and pricing. They were all down in December. And then supplier deliveries and customer inventories rose. But we did, we got an increase in the FDI, and I think it was driven by the 6-month outlook, which is tapping into that forward-looking emotional thing. In December, it made a massive jump. 61% of the people expect things to be better in 6 months. 24 the same, and only 15 worse. So it's a really bullish.
It is, and I just attribute that maybe to just the relief of the election being over.
Right.
It was a very contentious election, and I'm not taking a side one way or the other, but both sides, quote unquote, were really emotional about their candidates, and so it caused a lot of just churn emotionally. And so now, that's what I attribute this to, because really, when you look at the fundamentals, there isn't really a lot to be optimistic about in terms of end market demand for next year. You have what has been proposed as a tariff on China, Mexico, and Canada. That should most likely is going to be a drag, especially in our industry. We had an economics report earlier this week where employment jumped. So I think the feeling there is interest rates are going to stay high. So there's no relief there. And so the question is, where is this demand going to come from? And I did see that there is the IRS is going to send about $2 billion out to people that apparently were qualified for stimulus relief money and didn't get it, that might be a little shot in the arm. But otherwise, my thinking is there isn't a lot there to stoke underlying demand unless you're in a sector that's enjoying something unique. And in the red iron business with data centers, the increase in electrical demand around AI, those guys are doing well.
Yeah, there. We have a sister magazine in the wire and cable industry, and those two areas are doing very well, and grid reinforcement as well.
Yep.
And internationally, there's a lot of focus on Mexico. I mean, you mentioned the potential tariffs and all that stuff, but there's a lot of people moving into Mexico in terms of operations and putting in satellite offices, et cetera. So, it could be interesting, and also hearing good things out of India as well.
Yeah, I think that there are actually a lot of people in our industry moving operations into Mexico following their end user customers. John Deere's announced a couple of operations they're going to set up down there, and I'm familiar with a number of manufacturers that are moving down there, and I think people in our industry, distributors, are following that business down there.
Yep. And then we had, you mentioned the relief of the election being over, and then that was followed by the threat of tariffs.
Yes. One thing that really shocked me was I saw the Finn newsletter. They did a survey, and it said that there's a majority of people in our industry that favor the tariffs. I'm trying to figure out who they talk to, because it's going to create extra work as people try to manage, how do you manage this increase in price, or I should say landed cost. I do think the Chinese government will weaken their currency, but that's going to take some time to play out. And then I would think that the Chinese suppliers might cut their invoice price to try to help offset it. But it still is a lot of distraction and a lot of extra work. Some people are trying to resource to other countries. Some of the Chinese manufacturers are obviously moving production to Vietnam and Malaysia. It's a lot of distraction, and I'm surprised anybody in our industry would be in favor of it. But I may be reading from a different newsletter, I guess.
I think also it's possible that the threat that these are just threats to increased negotiation stances, especially on North American ones.
Well, I think they could, and I'm not making a political statement here. I'm just observing conduct from prior paradigms. And when I look at the reaction of Justin Trudeau in Canada, he resigns and flies to Mar-a-Lago prior to making that resignation. I think that probably is the type of approach that suits the Trump administration better. It probably enhances the odds that maybe these types of sanctions won't happen on Canada. Whereas in Mexico, I think that the president of Mexico, she threatened to retaliate with tariffs. That approach probably doesn't work as well. And the Chinese have been noticeably silent. So my sense is that the China and the Mexico one are probably a lot more probable than the Canadian one at this point.
Good observation there. So, all right. Well, we've got to have some kind of problem to focus on, right?
That's right. If this was easy, everybody would do it, right?
Yeah, right. All right. Well, good. Then I wanted to bring up the PMI rose this month. That's the Purchasing Managers Index, and that rose to 49.3, which is the first time above 49 since last April. So that one is moving up as well.
It is, and that could perhaps be a signal that maybe we're seeing some uptick.
Because that's a really broad one.
It is, and I look at that on a longer term basis, and it's only been down when we've had recessions over the last 25 years or so. And we have not had a recent recession, although I will say that the period of time in which it's been below 50 has been longer than any recent stretch of periods in quite some time. So it just reflects to me what I call a hangover post-pandemic, when there was, a lot of free business out there, a lot easier to see new business. I think we just kind of chopped along the bottom, but that it's a slightly positive, and let's keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah, definitely. That seemed like a good sign to me. So let's move on to the comments, actually, I had a note here about Baird was cautioning readers not to read too much into the end of the year results due to holidays and weather problems. So
Yeah. We have that every year, although with Christmas, on a Wednesday, that might make that week stretch a little longer than normal. And I can appreciate that comment.
Yeah. All right, then we have commentary from the people who did the survey, and overall probably leaning positive, but then some caution on the tariff issue, which we've already started. So the first comment was, quote, "It appears things are status quo now that the election and year are over. We don't expect much in the way of overall business jumping, but feel domestic manufacturing will benefit from the latest tariff talks," end quote. So there's another one of those pro-tariff people.
Yep.
And the next comment says, quote, we continue to be nervous about Trump's new tariffs. They will affect everything. The higher they are, the worse the overall impact, end quote. I would fall into that camp, I think.
Yep.
Being said, as a sidebar, I don't like when, people dump products. It's always a problem, and there's never a good solution to it.
No, I agree.
Okay, the next comment is a little bit more on the business side. RFQs slowed in much of December, so we were unable to capitalize on as many orders as we had hoped to. Hopefully, the large number of business days in January will help us balance it out.
I guess the thing I would just take away from that is that I'm kind of surprised that over the last year or so, there have not been a lot more market testing among end users and production fastener distributors, in that, there were a lot of price increases to be had as we went through the post-pandemic recovery, where, the pricing equation kind of leaned heavily on the supply side versus the demand side. I kind of expected, as demand has softened and end user OEMs have had maybe more time on their hands to market test, that we'd see more market testing. And quite frankly, we usually see market testing. We'll see the same inquiries from 3 or 4 distributors that are being tested, and we haven't really seen that yet. And I that surprises me. And this comment also kind of reinforces it. We're just not seeing as many RFQs out there. And I'm surprised by that, given where we're at in the business cycle and the relatively recent inflation that's happened in our industry. So that comment caught my attention, most certainly.
Well, it's definitely something to pay attention to.
Yes.
All right. The last, we got 3 more comments. It says, early December sales were better than expected, but slowed to expected levels as we hit the holidays. Expecting quoting activity to be the same, but incoming POs could be higher. And then the last 2 are both positive. It says 2024 was a very strong year for us, and we have higher expectations for the new year. Then the final one is 2024 will be our second best behind 2022. Hoping 2025 brings good things for all, end quote.
Those seem like micro type comments that are probably unique to a particular, individual or company. It does seem interesting that in the first comment, they're talking about incoming POs could be higher, which that suggests just an underlying demand improvement, from the end user market. But, I think if you look at, right below here, you've got Fastenal in the report. And when you look at Fastenal sales, I don't think that Fastenal would share necessarily that 24 is their second best year behind 22. And I think that some of the other bigs probably would find that to be similar. So some of these comments, when you get at this level, get to be pretty microscopic and are pretty unique to specific companies and survey participants.
Yeah, maybe the people had good years. They just want to talk about it.
Exactly.
Which is not a bad thing. Okay. Well, anything else you want to add to the FDI or FLI discussion?
Well, I do hope that we do see a pickup in demand, and I think some things that'll be early to look at as we start the new year are reflected in these comments here. Do we see an increase in RFQs? Do we see increases in purchase orders? And then are there any other macroeconomic things that would be good signals? And so I'm waiting on the year with bated breath and hoping we start to see these things pick up.
Yep, hoping for the best.
Yep.
All right, so we get to the point of the talk here where we give you a chance to tell the listeners what's going on at Huyett. And in particular, I saw you had a blog post on your website at huyett.com/blog where you're talking about creating a sustainable evergreen company. So I thought maybe you can be an entry to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, no, it's something that we've been working on. So we are a privately owned company. My wife and I own Huyett. I'm 62 years old, would like to live forever, but that probably is not going to happen. So
probably not.
We've commenced a process over the last couple of years to talk as a family system very transparently, with our team members as well on the notion of trying to remain a private company for another generation. I was admitted into an organization about 2 years ago called the Tugboat Institute. It's a very interesting and inspiring organization founded by a former private equity individual from Silicon Valley. And he had a client at one point, they were going to exit and monetize their investment. And she resisted, and it caused him to kind of think deeply and look into, the whole idea of private companies and remaining private. And as a result of that self-study process, he started this organization. And there's about 300 companies, give or take, in it right now. And we span all industries, almost every state in the union. And it's been a really good experience for me to network with other CEOs that have similar aspirations. And so we've been working on this as a company ourselves. And I'm not sure if we're going to be successful. I certainly hope we can be. Our industry, like many, obviously has a lot of influence with private equity. And that's something that we probably will continue to see happen. And, the private equity people are good if you're an investor and have done well. But by the same token, typically if a company is bought by private equity, they're for sale the day it's purchased. And we've seen this recently with Big Bolt, and they have been purchased by the Linfast Group. And so Big Bolt, the Partridge family, sold that business out a few years back. And so we see, this whole investment orientation. And at least for me, I don't want our employees to become simple Social Security numbers. And so I'm cautiously optimistic that through a process that we can certainly try to remain private.
Steer the direction of the company a little bit.
Yep. It gives us a long-term perspective. It gives us, a really employee, people-driven first psychology. And so I feel like for us can actually be a competitive advantage.
Yeah, I think it's good, and I encourage listeners to go read the whole post there. You got to, you've touched on some of the points there with the private equity. You're being for sale the next day, and so I think it's good. And it's good that you're looking at the whole thing, and then you close it out. You say you focus on culture, growth, and internal succession planning. So that's good to hear, and I think refreshing to hear.
The founder of Tugboat Institute, his name is Dave Wharton. He actually just published a book called Another Way, Building Companies That Last. He wrote it with Bo Burlingham. Some of you might know of him. He co-wrote The Great Game of Business with Jack Stack, which is a really popular business book out there. But if people are interested in this further, that would be a recommendation of some additional study if anyone's interested.
Very good. So listeners can check it out at huyett.com/blog. It's posted December 18th, 2024. So the other thing I wanted to bring up is I saw you had a LinkedIn post right at the end of the year, and you posted, got my attention, made me laugh and think at the same time. But you posted what you considered a Christmas card to your professional network, which was a video, which I'll talk about in a minute. But at the end of the post, it's very short and to the point. It says that 2025 will be the best ever. If you don't believe that, retire or quit.
Yep. I mean, if you can't go through life thinking that tomorrow is going to be a better day, it makes living today hard, doesn't it?
Yeah. So I think that's what I thought you meant, is you weren't saying you had some special knowledge about 2025, but this is the year in front of us, or these are the days in front of us. So make them the best ever, or get out of the way.
You betcha. I live every day thinking that I can make the world a better place tomorrow. And I hope that everyone in our company does that. And I think there's a lot of people in our industry that feel the same way. And, I think that 2025 will be better than 24. And I'm very invigorated and excited about that. And I think a lot of other people are as well.
Good. I appreciated that. And I like I said, it made me laugh and think at the same time. So in it, you give you have a link, you updated on your son, Tommy O'Keeffe, who's a singer songwriter, and you posted his video there. I think a lot of listeners have already checked it out, but if you want to give us a little bit of background on that.
I'm really glad that you brought it up. I mean, I kind of feel like this is like a self-promotion deal, and I don't mean that to be this way.
That's okay.
But my son Tommy is a very interesting story in that he moved to Nashville now, I think it was 7 years ago, to be a singer-songwriter, and he's published probably, I want to say, 14 or 15 songs. wrote many of them, almost all co-writes. That's one thing I've learned about the singer-songwriter endeavor is most songs are co-written. And I think that the writers get a little bit more strength and also the notion that you can view a song, whatever the message is, through multiple lenses. The song that Tommy put out recently was one he wrote by himself. And so he recorded a little family video with it. And it's been a very enjoyable, gotten a lot of airplay. And so we're excited. But I just have to tell you that probably the hardest thing in the world to do right now is build a music career, because streaming has changed the economics profoundly. So he's got a long journey ahead, but it's really a great song, and it's done really, really well. The song's called When I Do. So if you get a chance, you might check it out.
Yeah, people can check it out. It's on his YouTube channel, which is Tommy O'Keeffe. And it's got a lot of family videos in there. You guys were doing some kind of some celebrations, and maybe give us the backstory on that.
Yeah, it's really his gig, I guess, is what I'd say. But
right, but you guys are out in it.
he's at an age where there's a lot of weddings in our life right now. We went to a lot of weddings this year, and so this song's kind of about making a long-term commitment. And so the video is a series of some of the weddings we attended. My son got married in September in a redwood forest near Santa Cruz, California. There's some video shots of that, but it's all about the long-term commitment. And speaking myself as someone that celebrated my 40th wedding anniversary this year, if you're lucky enough to find the right one, it sure makes life a lot shorter and a lot better. And so the song kind of reinforces that. And so there's a lot of family videos on there with a lot of weddings. And I'm sure, Mike, I'm not sure how many kids you have, but I have to think that maybe you probably have some kids with grandkids perhaps, and it certainly changes your life and it puts a smile on your face. And I guess it's another reason why you can say that tomorrow's going to be a better day, because it's another day with my grandkids.
Wow, there you go. How many grandkids do you have?
I have 5 right now. I have 5 kids. I have 5 grandkids.
Okay.
Only with my oldest son, Jim, and they're all 5 and under. So that's called chaos.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I've got a couple kids, no grandkids yet, but tomorrow's another day. So
there you go.
But and I appreciate the video too, because in this day and age, you get lots of press about AI and all these shortcuts, and you even mentioned on the streaming of music. I know there's a lot of fake musicians out there too. So it was good to see a real musician and a real family, and in the whole video, I enjoyed that.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, and I hope I'm not getting us off too much in a tangent here, but I'm actually taking an AI certification course right now. I want to learn about this, and it's teaching me how to make prompts on ChatGPT. And what I can just offer is that it is astounding what you can produce with AI. And it's so far beyond an individual's own ability to comprehend. And so right now I feel like, the first week learning cursive writing, when I was a kid in school. But this AI thing is crazy. And increasingly it's going to make it, in some ways, the world a more dangerous or unsecure place, in that, everything from cybersecurity and such. And like you note, what's going to happen to the art world, both the visual arts and the audio arts, when you have computers that can record all this stuff. So my son's the real deal. He's not an avatar. And so what you see is what you get.
Yeah. So I like to say, guys can check it out. And if you want to see Tim's post, it's on LinkedIn, and Tommy sings on YouTube. They're both there. And then Tommy sings on YouTube. So job well done. Congratulations to your family. And
I appreciate that.
Everything. Yeah. Good. So anything else you want to add about Huyett before we wrap it up?
No, I just would wish everybody a good year, happy 2025. And Mike, I always appreciate what you do in the industry, and Eric as well. And I hope all is well. I appreciate the opportunity.
It is well, and we're looking forward to the 2025. And I like the numbers. They both multiply into 100 or divide into 100. I don't know what that means, but I like the look of it.
You bet.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us on the Fastener News Report.
Thank you.
That was Tim O'Keeffe. He's the Chief Executive Officer at Huyett. The FDI number for December 2024 was 48.1 versus 46.4 in November. Visit FDIsurvey.com to participate in the process and get a detailed PDF copy of Baird's monthly analysis. Now for today's top story. LinFast Solutions Group, also known as LSG, completed the purchase of Big Bolt LLC, a leading domestic manufacturer of specialty fasteners and an end-to-end solution provider with industry-leading turnaround times. LSG management says that the company is excited to welcome the Big Bolt team and is confident that together the group will continue to offer customers unparalleled service, quality, and product availability. Big Bolt supplies high-quality special fasteners serving distributor customers across diverse markets. With a focus on quick turnaround times, comprehensive in-house fabrication capabilities, and unmatched product quality, Big Bolt is the go-to supplier for highly customized, low-volume orders and more. LSG looks forward to expanding Big Bolt's ability to serve its collected customers by leveraging LSG's significant base of fastener expertise, sales force experience, inventory, and physical locations across North America. The company is confident this combination is very powerful and will continue to establish LSG as the provider of choice for all fastener needs, focused on creating value for customers, suppliers, employees, and stakeholders. LSG is a master distributor of standard and specialty fasteners in both metric and imperial sizes. The company also provides customers with a range of value-added services such as packaging, plating, coating, and guaranteed stock programs. Eric Dudas caught up with Star Stainless Screw President Tim Roberto Jr. to get his input on this story.
Another big announcement from LinFast Solutions. Tim Roberto Jr. with LinFast, Star, of course. He's here with us right now. Hi, Tim. What's going on? What's the big headline with Big Bolt? We're dying to know.
Hi, Eric. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate giving us the time. Exciting news for us. This was a early Christmas gift for LSG is the Big Bolt acquisition that took place in late December. For us, we're excited about what this opportunity and this company offers the LSG family overall.
Well, let's get into just a couple of the obvious details. For folks not really that familiar with Big Bolt, they're quite an interesting company, I've always felt. They do all sorts of small, mid-sized fabrication projects, and recently, of course, folded in Delta Secondary into their group, now part of LSG as well. What else can you tell us about Big Bolt?
Yeah, I think what Dan and his team has set up there at Big Bolt is just customer-oriented, driven completely by customer need. Quality has been big, and just the quick turnarounds that they're able to offer is just amazing to be able to see. Partnered with Mega, which is part of Lindstrom right now. These two are really a beast when it comes to serving customer needs. Just amazing how they're able to turn things around so quickly from the inventory that they hold, but also just that drive and desire to meet customer needs. It's just amazing to be a part of and to see, especially when it comes to manufacturing. I think too often the manufacturing side of things is often that you're going to get what you're going to get and you're going to like it when you get it. And for us to see companies like Big Bolt and Mega working together where it's we want to make sure you're happy. We're going to turn it around in the time that you want it. We're going to make that happen in just amazing ways. I think for us that continues. I give credit to Alex Acosta, who's our head of corporate development, and Bill Nikitas, the CEO, who have just kept their ears to the ground for companies that would complement who we are. And I think Big Bolt is a huge complement to what we try to offer at LSG, which is always customer-driven, customer-oriented. And so I think we're ecstatic to be able to add them to the portfolio. Just ecstatic for what Dan and his team offers customers. I think partnered together with the other divisions that we have, I think this really continues to complete a portfolio and an offering that we've wanted to have.
Yeah, you answered a couple of my questions in that comment right there, Tim. And I think this probably answers the one that I was going to ask about LSG's thinking on the trend of domestic manufacturing. Can you expand on that a little bit more? I mean, obviously that plays into that idea.
Yeah, I think for us, it's definitely targeted and warranted for manufacturers who can present to customer needs, who have that opportunity to continue to complement what we're already offering. And I think this was just a no-brainer when it comes to Big Bolt. They've proven that over and over again. I think, to your point, they're an amazing company that doesn't get a lot of notoriety. But I think the customers who do know them continue to come back just because of the experience they've had. And I think just getting their name out there and leveraging the relationships that the overall LSG team has, I think will be just a win for the overall industry, because when you're partnering with domestic manufacturers, you want to make sure you have those right partners. And I completely agree that Big Bolt would be an amazing partner for anybody who's looking for big runs, small runs, quick runs, long runs, whatever it is that they're needing. I think Big Bolt wants to answer that, and they're hungry to do it, which is just amazing to see. I think Dan and his team really have formed a team that wants to meet every single customer need that they can, and it's just amazing to see it then come to fruition and done. And so for me, I'm excited to be part of this LSG that just continues to grow in many ways, adding key partners that make us better.
You always got your eye on stainless. You go way back with Star Stainless. You're the president of Star Stainless, Tim Roberto Jr. So right before I let you run, what are you seeing out there specifically regarding stainless?
Yeah, what we're seeing is just a continual slowing of worldwide demand. And I think that's really just holding the worldwide price down as well. That's why you're seeing nickel not take off like it wants to. I think the U.S. has been carrying that market for so long. I think the hope and the bated breath is what's going to happen with China. Are they going to get back in line with their consumption of nickel, or is it just going to continue to be soft? I think for us, that's what we kind of do. We monitor that to see how the worldwide demand goes. And as that goes, I think that's where you see the price goes. And so for us, we try to stay ahead of it, get ahead on the inventory to make sure we have the right inventory at the right time. And for us, it's been continuing to expand that inventory. I think that's been an exciting thing that we've seen over the last 3 years. It's just an expansion of the offering that we have to be able to be that one-stop shop to carry the things that our customers need. I think we're going to continue to see stainless grow. I would say over this next year, of course, but in the future, I think it's a natural tendency for stainless to continue to grow. But for us, it's making sure that we have the right product at the right price and that our customers get what they need when they need it.
All right, Tim. Well, thanks for the summary. I won't talk tariffs right now because we're all still in wait and see mode, but next time for sure.
Yeah, I think as it unfolds, I think the hard part now is you just see little news bits that keep dropping, and there's still so much uncertainty. You're right. So I'd love to talk about that at a later date.
Thanks for being here. We'll talk to you soon.
That was Star Stainless Group President Tim Roberto Jr. and Eric Dudas. Next up, today's Fastener Newsmaker headlines. In corporate news, Bolton plans to establish operations in Vietnam. Big Bolt acquired a powerful Tesker thread roller. Century Fasteners received accreditation to AS9120B. Nefco acquired Unistrut Midwest. Anchor Bolton Supply partnered with Birmingham Fastener. Prime Source Brands acquired Harney Hardware. Spiral expanded its precedent inserts line to include aluminum products. Vico Products announced a new website. R&S Industrial Supplies acquired Sasco Fasteners. Endries International announced a new distribution center in Texas. AFC Industries acquired Irwin Industrial. And EJOT won the Volkswagen Formal Q certificate. In personnel news, Suncor Stainless appointed Don Piccirilli as new West Coast Senior Regional Account Manager. Blackhawk Industrial promoted Jay Costa and Anthony DeSalvo. Dorman Products appointed Tayfun Uner president of its light-duty business segment. Bolton Nutt introduced Adam Williams as its new quality director. Aveco appointed Ed Gerber as CEO. And Brighton Best International, also known as BBI, announced that Alfonso Paniagua, regional manager from Brighton Best Dallas, and George Hunt III, regional manager BBI Chicago, have successfully completed and passed the final exam to earn the Certified Fastener Specialist designation, also known as CFS, from the Fastener Training Institute. You can get details on all of these stories and more in Fastener Technology International magazine and the Fastener News Report monthly newsletter, both available online at fastenertech.com. Now let's turn to the back page to talk about signposts on the Wisdom Trail. The end and beginning of any year always have a good share of big idea essays, opinions, and commentaries in all levels and types of media. Earlier on the Fastener News Report, we heard Tim O'Keeffe's advice for this new year of 2025, as he succinctly said, quote, 2025 will be the best ever. If you don't believe that, retire or quit, end quote. And to that, I would like to add another favorite of mine, which comes from Wall Street Journal Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist Peggy Noonan. The title of her January 2nd, 2025 entry bears the title of this month's Backpage Report, Signposts on the Wisdom Trail. The subhead reads, quote, Things I learned from Abraham Lincoln, C.S. Lewis, David Foster Wallace, and my friend's grandmother, and others. End quote. Here are 7 selected signs of wisdom told from the author's first-person voice. Number 1. An Italian grandmother was stirring sauce over the stove as I, about age 10, and my friend, her granddaughter, fantasized about how a local family must be rich millionaires. They just bought a big car. Don't count other people's money, the grandmother said. You don't know all the facts and it's none of your business. Number 2. I once read that Abraham Lincoln said if you ask most people to put all of their troubles in an open sack and place it down next to their neighbor's sacks, and then everyone was told to pick one up and keep it, most people would hesitate barely a moment before they picked up their own sack and took it home. Number 3. The only truth to tell a young couple about to get married? God is real and babies are everything. The only advice for a college graduate? Honest work makes the world go round. Bring your talents to market. The most important thing to tell a student entering college or high school? Read. Number 4. To paraphrase C.S. Lewis, empires rise and fall, great nations come and go, but the man who poured your coffee this morning is immortal because his soul is immortal. Number 5. From a journalist friend this week, quote, you are never sorry you took a walk, end quote. Another writer told me a few weeks ago of his New England Yankee mother who believed there are no problems that aren't made at least slightly better by a long walk and none that are made worse. Number 6. A man in his early 80s told my friend, who was a psychologist, that he really wanted to do was learn Italian, but that it's absurd to be likely dead in 10 years. What would he do with it? The therapist said, well, you can die knowing Italian or you can die not knowing Italian. Which is better? So the old man studied Italian happily. It's never too late to begin. And number 7, on a piece of paper above my computer is a quote from David Foster Wallace. Quote, good writing isn't a science, it's an art, and the horizon is infinite. You can always be better, end quote. And in closing, she says, go forward this year, whatever your field, like an artist. And to that, I say amen. This has been Mike McNulty of Fastener Technology International magazine, bringing you the Fastener News Report. Please send your news, pictures, comments, corrections, or complaints to me at mcnulty@fastenertech.com.
I don't always walk to a dive and pick a corner booth. I don't always approach a stranger and try to say something smooth. I rarely dance. It's not that I can't, I just can't find a reason to. Oh, when I do, it's for someone like you. Someone like you. There ain't no chance, 'cause I've looked over and back again. You took my hand and it all flooded in.
With Star Stainless, our personalized service and nationwide network of distribution centers allows you to order rivets, hose clamps, and fasteners from one source. Star continues to be your one-stop shop to consolidate vendors, reduce transactions, and save on shipping costs. Choose Star Stainless for a comprehensive inventory that meets all your hardware needs. Star Stainless Screw Company is a division of Linfast Solutions Group.
Precision, efficiency, durability. J.L. Franco has been a trusted name for the finest lock nuts worldwide and across North America for over 40 years. J.L. Franco keeps projects on track, on time, and on budget, providing self-locking lock nuts and critical bolting components for applications in aerospace, energy, military, rail, mining, industrial, and many other sectors where reliability and high performance are essential. Learn more about J.L. Franco online at www.jlanfranco.com, and don't miss our booth at Fastener Fair USA. J.L. Franco, lock nuts for critical bolted joints.
Well, hello, everybody. This is Carmen Vertullo with the Fastener Training Minute, coming to you from the Fastener Training Institute and Carver Labs in beautiful El Cajon, California. Today's topic rises out of an incident that we just processed yesterday on a job site, structural steel job site. My lab manager and I, lab manager Rick Wiley, thank God for Rick, he and I went to the job site with our Skidmore Wilhelm bolt tension calibrator to solve a problem that was created by the erectors because they took some unnecessary risks. So fortunately, we were able to solve that problem, but we can't always solve these problems. And when I come back, I'm going to tell you about a particular risk associated with structural bolting, and it informs us about all kinds of other risks that occur in the fastener business.
At Worth Industry North America, we know that in today's world, you need a supply chain partner that you can depend on. We provide the products you need to keep your business moving. Data-driven inventory management solutions, industry-leading technology, and the global stability of the Worth Group, combined with an unrelenting commitment to local partnership. Discover superior supply chain security at www.worthindustry.com.
This is Tough Nutter Jake Valdez Davis here, and when I'm not training for the upcoming Tough Mudder race this August, I'm grabbing some Yubo Blend coffee and heading out to the next Fastener Association meeting. BTM Manufacturing is going to have a busy 2025, and I'm looking forward to seeing everyone. Train hard, or not. See you in August.
Well, welcome back, everybody. This is Carmen Vertullo with the Fastener Training Minute. Today, talking about risk, R-I-S-K, risk. Fasteners is a risky business. There's lots of things in life that are risky. For example, driving a car is risky. However, there are all kinds of things that we do to mitigate that risk. We have great roads and laws and insurance, and we have to get a license and get trained, and we manage risks by not driving when we're impaired, and we don't speed and so on. So driving is a manageable risk. However, if you were to drive in Baghdad, which I have not driven in Baghdad personally behind the wheel, but I've been in cars there, the risk is unfreaking believable because they don't have all that cool stuff that we have here to manage our risk. Tijuana, the same way, not quite as bad as Baghdad, and I have driven through Tijuana. So in our fastener world, we have all kinds of cool barriers and guides and rules and just good common practice that helps us manage the risk. Otherwise, this business would just be not doable. And when we don't follow the rules, we end up suffering the consequences of that risk. And I'm going to tell you a story about that right now. I got a call from a steel erector here in San Diego putting up a building, nice steel building, beautiful building. Oh my goodness, it's an office building. And what they're using in this office building, some very large, very strong structural bolts. As a matter of fact, they are the largest and strongest structural bolts that we have. They're ASTM F3125 grade A490 hex cap bolt, heavy hex cap structural bolts and nuts and washers, plain steel, and the size is 1.5 inches, largest they come. In the structural world, one of the ways that we mitigate the risks associated with structural bolting is we have a test called the PIV test, pre-installation verification test. And I've spoken about this before on the Fastener Training Minute. The PIV test requires that before we put any bolting in the steel, we prove that it is going to perform as required. That is, it's going to develop the tension required in the steel using whatever our method of tightening is. The standard that we use is called the RCSC specification for structural joints using high-strength bolts. And it provides for 5 actually different methods of tensioning. The most common method is called turn of the nut, and that simply means we snug tighten the bolt, and then we turn it a certain number of degrees, and we get the proper tension. Another method is using a calibrated torque wrench. That's a very rare method, not that good of a method, and as a matter of fact, it's going to be removed. A third method is the combination of those two, where we use the torque wrench for snug tight, and then we use the turn of the nut for the final tensioning. That's going to go away as well. Another method, which is one of the most popular, is the tension control bolt, the twist-off tension control bolt. I'm not going to explain what that is right now, but it's a really cool fastener. And the final 5th method is a device called a direct tension indicator. And this looks like a washer, and it is a washer that has bumps on it. And those bumps are very specifically calibrated to be able to indicate the tension achieved. And the way it works is the bumps are pushed from one side of the washer during the manufacturing, so it actually makes an indentation on one side and a bump on the other side. Just imagine you're going to maybe poke your finger into something soft, like a piece of dough, and it makes an indent on one side and a bump on the other. And then we put this in the steel and we tighten it down and the bumps collapse. And we measure the gaps between the bumps with a feeler gauge. And it's a little bit more complicated than that, but that's how it works. Now, for this all to be effective, whatever method we use, we have to prove with the special inspector that it works. And the way we do that is we have a device called the Skidmore-Wilhelm bolt tension calibrator, commonly just called the Skidmore. And this device is a hydraulic load cell with a gauge attached to it. And the gauge reads in pounds force, not PSI. So we can actually put the bolt and the nut combination in the Skidmore, use whatever tightening strategy we have, prove that it works 3 times. Inspector's happy. We can now put the bolting in the steel. I'm going to read something to you from the RCSC standard, section 7 on PIV testing. And this should be tattooed on every keg of structural bolts that goes out. It says this, and actually some suppliers do this. Some suppliers that I've counseled do it. It says this: pre-installation verification testing provides a practical means for ensuring that non-conforming bolting assemblies are not incorporated into the work. Experience on many projects has shown that bolts, nuts, and/or bolting assemblies not meeting the requirements of the applicable ASTM standards would have been identified prior to installation if they had been tested as an assembly lot in a bolt tension measuring device. The expense of replacing bolts installed in the structure when the non-conforming bolts were discovered at a later date would have been avoided. Very, very classically important piece of information there. It turned out that because they did not have the proper Skidmore-Wilhelm bolt tension calibrator, they did not do the PIV test on these direct tension indicators, which was their method in this instance, on these 1.5" A490s. Now, this building is almost 100% built. You can imagine the size of these columns that are using these 1.5" A490s. So, problem is there are 2 basic models of the Skidmore-Wilhelm bolt tension calibrator, the MZ and the HS. The MZ is the smaller model and it can achieve tensions of 126 kips. The HS is the larger model and it can go to 170 kips. Because this was such a large and strong bolt, as we said, the largest, strongest structural bolt we have, an 1.5" A490, and the erectors did not have the HS model, they only had the MZ model, they could not do the PIV test on the direct tension indicating washers. So they just skipped it. Lo and behold, when the inspector went to check for the results of that test and they weren't available, they said, we got to do this test. Parts were already in the steel. We happen to have an HS model here at Carver Labs. John O'Brien informed the client of that. They called us up. Carver to the rescue. We showed up on the job site with our HS tension calibrator, and we did their test, and they passed. Thank God. I cannot imagine what the result would have been if those DTIs did not pass the test. It would have been a disaster. I have a very similar issue right now. Fortunately, it's only about 800 bolts, and they're 3/4 inch twist-off tension control bolts, and those bolts are being removed because they failed to do the PIV test prior to installation. When they went to do the PIV test later, it did not pass. However, those bolts were left out in the rain. And so they had a compromised lubricant on them, could not pass the test. They couldn't prove anything about whether they were good at the time of installation. Fortunately, my client, the supplier, provided product that was in compliance, and the erector will pay the expense of replacing those 800 bolts. Now, there are also other options. You could do a thing called an arbitration test on the installed bolting, and that could be a way to keep it in place. All of these things are things that anyone involved in structural bolting, suppliers, manufacturers, installers, sellers, buyers, consultants, test laboratories, all should be very well aware of, especially the workings of the Skidmore-Wilhelm bolt tension calibrator. We have training here at Carver Labs, and be looking for this, by the way, because we have some clinics coming up early this year. We're going to do multiple clinics here, and you'll be hearing from us or FTI about those. One more final word I would like to say is if you don't own a Skidmore-Wilhelm bolt tension calibrator and you're in the structural bolt business, you should own one. Please call me, and I will help advise you on what you should get. And I know that Skidmore-Wilhelm has a backlog right now of manufacturing these, so you might not be able to get one by snapping your fingers, but you need to get on the list. By the way, Skidmore-Wilhelm also produces other types of bolt tension calibrators for smaller screws, where we can test automotive screws, screws used in medical devices and other types of equipment. And they also produce torque testing equipment. So they have a full menu of excellent bolt testing devices to help us know that our torque tension relationship or whatever our tightening strategy is will work in whatever application we have. So at the end of the day, I just want to tell you all, be aware of the risks involved in your fastener transactions. Mitigate them, and let's make sure what you sell stays sold, stays shipped, and you get paid, and we don't have to have any rejections, any returns, and God forbid, we don't have to remove and replace bolting that has already been installed in structural steel. Well, this has been Carmen Vertullo with your Fastener Training Minute. Thanks for listening.
This is Holden Lewis of Fastenal, and you're listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
And I'm back to wrap up another one. Well, we don't always have Brian with us, but
sometimes we do.
Oh, sometimes we do, and when we do, it's much better. Hey, Brian, glad you made it back.
It's all right. Yeah, I know. Me too.
So this is a ginormous scrubber project this time, huh?
Yes, it's very, very large, and the biggest one we've done, actually, and very complex, and it'll take us a little while.
All right. Well, that's what we do. Well, thanks for jumping on, Bri. And we have a great show that's all in the can really now. You caught the tail end of it, but that's all right. We'll have plenty more as 2025 unfolds.
Right.
So hopefully many more scrubber jobs too.
Not quite like this for a while, okay?
Fair enough, fair enough. Well, let's wrap this one up and we'll think about that then.
He might be.
The title sponsors of Fully Threaded Radio are Star Stainless. Right off the shelf, it's Star. Goebel Fasteners. Quality the first time. Go Goebel. And Brighton Best. Tested, tried, true. Brighton Best. Fully Threaded Radio is also sponsored by Buckeye Fasteners, BTM Manufacturing, Eurolink Fastener Supply Service, Fastener Technology International, InSequel Software, Fastener Fair USA, J. Lanfranco, Solution Industries, Volt Industrial Plastics, and Worth Industry North America. You know the email address, folks.
Yep, use it.
That's right. It's ftr@fullythreaded.com. Let us know what you think. Got a question, suggestion? Here we are. So actually, Bri, you're not going to have a very big role in the next episode either because
Thank you.
Well, no fault of your own. This time you're off the hook because it's really just a ginormous discussion with Skidmore-Wilhelm top guy John O'Brien, along with everybody's favorite torque tension person, Carmen Vertullo.
Cool.
That's right. So if you heard the Fastener Training Minute today, you heard Carmen suggest that he was going to strongly advocate to get this thing going. Well, we wasted no time. As soon as he got done recording this one, I said, well, give me John's number. We'll set it up. We did, and the conversation is epic. But in keeping with our new kind of tighter format, I didn't want to tack it on this thing. Otherwise, it would have been pretty long. Put it this way, it would have made Tom Buddenbone very, very unhappy, Bri.
Even on double speed.
Well, this one you're going to want to listen to at normal speed, I think, because there's a lot of goodness in it. But Well, if you're into torque tensioning and the Skidmore Wilhelm and all that, it'll be something you won't want to miss. We'll drop that one right away.
Can't wait, actually.
And as 2025 unfolds, Bri, there will be plenty of chances for you to share your wisdom, humor, and general knowledge on the audience. Don't worry.
Okay.
But now we'll put episode 208 in the can, everybody. Sure do appreciate you clicking in.
We do. Even on the tail end.
Even on the tail end. Pay attention to your texts, Bri. A little closer. I know you get really, really in the concentration zone, but I tried.
Okay.
For Brian Musker, this is Eric Dudas. Get out there, sell some screws.
See you next time, folks.
Talk to you then.
Fully Threaded Radio is a production of Fastener's Clearinghouse.